The older that I get, the more and more I'm starting to realize that people fantasize about alternate realities. People are constantly saying, maybe in another lifetime, maybe some other time. And the reason that I've come to that conclusion is because of a recent conversation I had with my own brother. He brought up some interesting points, but one of his was that in a sense, we should have never migrated to the United States, that we should have stayed back and life would have been much better. For all different various reasons, I'm not going to get into here, but it made me want to talk about why people fantasize about alternate realities, why we like to imagine where we would have been and how we'd be better off versus our current situation. There's actually a name for this. Psychologists call it counterfactual thinking, the mind creating alternatives to events that already happened. And here's the important part researchers found. Your brain does this on purpose to help you learn and adapt. But there's a catch. When the imagined change is something you can't actually do anything about, like being born in a different country, to a different family, never moving here, the same tool that's supposed to help you turns against you. It stops being learning and becomes what they call rumination, the same loop, no exit. And that kind of stuck, backward looping is directly linked to anxiety and depression. And I often think to myself that it comes down to a really good saying, where your energy goes, your energy flows. And the reason that I say that is because when you're constantly thinking about an alternate reality, thinking about where and how you'd be happier somewhere else, with someone else, doing something else, that is technically impossible to even know. It is impossible for you to know that you would have been happier born in a different country or a different family, or if you never moved here or if you never moved there. It's impossible to know. Because one thing I've learned is that no matter what you do, there are always going to be consequences and risks. There's always going to be the fault in the stars, the challenges, whatever you want to call it. Your family, your own life, money, the most basic things, anything and everything. But here's what I've learned. I used to watch a show about one of my favorite superheroes, The Flash. It's based on Barry Allen, a forensic scientist who gets into an accident and gains the ability to run really fast. And later on, he realizes he can run so fast that he can actually run back in time. So he comes up with what feels like a great idea. He could go back and save his mother from dying. So he does. And now he's in this alternate reality, this alternate state, and it doesn't turn out good. It turns out, again, that there are mishaps, things he has to deal with. And at the end of it all, he realizes he can't go back and mess with time. Because every time he does go back and changes something, something different goes wrong. And what that teaches us is that there's always going to be some sort of challenge, some sort of setback, some sort of major hurdle in life that you cannot foresee and cannot avoid. The thing I mentioned earlier, where your energy goes, your energy flows. He tried so hard to pour his energy into that alternate reality. He ran back, he did all the things. But he still saw that no matter what, the alternate reality came with its own consequences. You cannot avoid your true destiny, which is the timeline and the things you're dealing with right now. There is no avoidance for them. This right here is not to tell you at the end of this you're going to gain a solution to some sort of problem you're dealing with. What it's meant to tell you is that the only way you're going to solve the things in your life is by accepting that these things are part of your life and you must endure them. The pain, the anxiety, the hardships, you must endure those things. And there's a science under this too. The reason the alternate life always looks better than it would actually is something researchers call hedonic adaptation, Whatever you get, the new country, the saved mother, the better job, your mind adjusts to it and it resets to baseline. The new problems move in to fill the space. The grass looks greener in the other timeline because you're only imagining the good parts and none of the new problems that would come with it. That's why it's a trap. The fantasy is always missing the hard parts. Now, I've endured plenty of hardships in my own life, and I don't want to go down a list of all of them. But one recently was leaving a career I'd worked at for 10 years and doing a full career change, moving twice in the span of 2 months into a house we worked like crazy to renovate and get up to some good living conditions for us. And now, 2 years later, I think to myself, there's no way I could have avoided that because I went through it. Those were the choices I made. I can't look back with any kind of regret and think that if I had done something different, I would have ended up happier or ended up some other way. What I can tell you is that the reason I ended up happier through those hardships is because I put my focus on turning them into lessons, turning those hardships into lifelong teachings that I could then pass down to whoever was willing to listen. I was willing to take those challenges on and accept them as part of my life, as part of the things I had to go through and grow through. Because ultimately, the meaning of life, our whole purpose, why we're here, is to go through and grow through the specific timeline presented to you at that moment in life. That's it. The meaning of life is to make happiness right in the moment, in whatever situation you're dealing with. And that's extremely difficult to do, obviously. Everyone deals with problems, and some people carry things I certainly haven't. So in a way, it may be easier for me to say that, but I've had my own challenges too, ones that weren't easy. Everyone goes through hardships that are hard for them. The real question is, how do you navigate that? By making the best of it, by living right now, in the moment, and being in the moment. A great example is the father who answers the phone even while he's on vacation in the middle of watching his son or daughter take their first swim, versus the father who ignores the phone and is right there in that moment, enjoying every precious second he has with that child. I'm not saying you should miss every important phone call. What I'm saying is there are moments in your life where you should not allow distractions to come in. There are moments in my life where I never allow distractions. When I'm at work and my wife calls, I stop what I'm doing to answer her because that's the number one priority in my life. I live in the moment. I can take a second to answer and make sure it's nothing important. Now you may be thinking, well, why couldn't the father just answer for a second and see if it's nothing? But the thing is, the most important thing is what's in front of his eyes. It's not in the phone. So the point is, right in that moment, the father is making the meaning of his life. He is deliberately understanding and choosing that the meaning of his life is to go through and grow through the situation he's in with his family right there, right then. And if the best decision he can make in that moment is to watch how his daughter swims instead of answering the client, and he ends up losing the client, then he has to be fully okay with that. Because most likely that was meant to be. But again, the majority of people will understand. We live in a world where you can miss a phone call and call them back, especially in business. I've realized that over the years, a lot of things actually aren't urgent. A lot of it gets handled through email, which takes days to respond, proving that nothing really is that urgent. It's just not. Our life is right now in the moment. Another great example of this is when you were a kid and you wanted that one toy or game or bike and your parents didn't get it for you because they couldn't afford it or simply didn't want to. And then you get older and now you finally have the money. So you go out and you buy the thing. And it just doesn't feel the same. Why? Because that joy and happiness can't be experienced in your time now. That window closed. When I was a teenager, I always wanted a BMW. When I was 27, 10 years later, I got it. And I learned this lesson in that time owning that car, that the majority of things we feel in the moment would make us happy don't. And all we can do is make happiness from the moment currently unfolding in front of us. This, by the way, is the whole trap of hedonic adaptation in one story. The teenage version of you would have been over the moon, but the thing itself doesn't carry the joy. You do. And you can only feel it in the season you're actually in. The more I write about this and process it, and I've been doing that now for several years, the more I realize there's no reason to think about the past. In fact, my wife and I rarely discuss it or even think about the past because we've simply outgrown it and realized it's up to us to live in the moment right now. It's why I continue to write and create these pieces that feel like they're getting nowhere, but in reality serve a much greater purpose. They are the happiness in my moment right now. Peace.